This is Newsmax TV. I'm Ashley Martella. November 9th is the 20th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, which paved the way for German reunification and the demise of the evil empire. It happened 2 years and 5 months after President Reagan's famous speech at the Brandenburg Gate on June 12th of 1987, during which he said, referring to then Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev, "Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." Ronald Reagan's son, Michael, the president of the Reagan Legacy Foundation and also president of the Reagan Group, a political action committee, joins us now by telephone. Welcome back to Newsmax, Michael.
Hey, it's good to be on. Thank you.
When your father made that speech in Brandenburg and issued that challenge to Gorbachev, do you think he really thought deep down inside that would actually happen? And if so, why?
Well, this is something he wanted to happen since the early 1960s in a debate with Bobby Kennedy. You know, he said to Bobby Kennedy, "Why don't you have your brother tear down that wall?" That was in 1962. He said in 1964, he talked about freedom for all those people, you know, behind the Berlin Wall and the Iron Curtain, you know, when he gave the Goldwater speech in 1964. This is something that concerned him to his bone from the time that wall went up on the night of August 12, 1961. To give you an idea, if you went to visit Aunt Sophie in East Germany or East Berlin, on the night of August 12th of 1961, you had dinner, went to a movie, and decided to spend the night. Unless you found a way to escape, you stayed in that area of Berlin for the next 28 years. That wall began to go up at 1 a.m. in the morning of the 13th. And by the time you would have woken up the morning of the 13th, the barbed wire, the guns, and the dogs would have been there, stopping you from going back home. And over the weekend, the communists had hired every single Mason in Germany to come to Berlin. They didn't even know why, to begin building that Berlin Wall. Yeah, my dad wanted that to, in fact, come down and wanted to put communism on the ash heap of history. And he was the only one, other than Peter Robinson, who wrote the speech with my dad, the only one in America, as far as in the government, that thought that line, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall," should even be in that speech. There were 8 memos from June 2nd of 1987 to June 12th of 1987. 8 memos. Every one of the memos sounded like this: "We have done all we can with the speech. At best it is mediocre. It is certainly a lost opportunity. Please see attached for changes." And every change took out the paragraph that ended in "Mr. Gorbachev, come here, tear down this wall."
Michael, from your perspective, what is the significance today of that event 2 decades ago?
The people have forgotten. The significance is it happened 2 decades ago, and here's the problem. People in that part of the world, young people in that part of the world, are now being led to believe that America put up the Berlin Wall to keep the communists out of the American sector. This is what happens with education when there is no education. So what you have is you have a group of people in the Eastern Bloc who don't know how they became free, and you have young people in America who don't know how to stay free. And so hence, I formed the Reagan Legacy Foundation a couple of years ago to support the young men and women who serve on the USS Ronald Reagan with scholarships for their ongoing education. But we've expanded it now in the last year. And on November 6th, 3 days before the 20th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, for the first time, my father will be honored in Berlin, and we are doing it through my foundation, the Reagan Legacy Foundation, by putting a Reagan room in the Checkpoint Charlie Museum that overlooks Checkpoint Charlie, that's been there since 1962, that tells the stories of those people who escaped, those people who died trying to, in fact, escape. 3,500 people a day go through Checkpoint Charlie Museum to see the history of what it was like to live behind an Iron Curtain, behind a Berlin Wall. And so we're excited about opening up the Reagan Room, on November 6th of this year.
Now, speaking of that, President Obama has decided not to go to Berlin to take part in the commemorative ceremonies. Columnist Michael Barone is among those who finds it odd that Obama has no problem flying to Oslo and Copenhagen for mostly personal reasons, but can't find the time to take part in remembrance of the monumental event that was the prelude to the collapse of the Soviet Union and the triumph of the West. Do you find that odd as well?
Oh, I don't find it odd with President Barack Obama. No, why do you find it odd? I find it completely consistent with Barack Obama, how he uplifts the enemies of freedom and pushes those who, in fact, who yearn to be free, pushes them away like there's something terribly wrong with us. He is sending, of course, Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, will be there. Bush 41 will be there. We'll be with him. His ambassador, of course, will be there. He'll be with us as we have our opening, on the 6th for the press and on the 7th for the public. But it is sad that the President of the United States doesn't think and deem it that important for him to be there. I believe you're going to have Lech Walesa will be there. Mikhail Gorbachev will be there. Others will be there. And Barack Obama, again, it does not surprise me that he doesn't really uplift the United States of America. He only goes overseas to, in fact, point fingers across the ocean and blame us and George Bush for everything.
Your father was the first to call for a missile defense shield, a strategic defense initiative, and some called it Star Wars in those days. Many say that was a major factor in the Soviet Empire collapse because they could not compete economically. Now, Obama has completely pulled the plug on that, some say in an attempt to appease the Russians. What would your father say about that?
It is an attempt to appease the Russians. It is. The SDI Star Wars brought the communist regime and the Soviet Union to their knees. Absolutely to their knees. This is the one thing that Mikhail Gorbachev at Reykjavik wanted my dad to give up in order to sign the treaties on nuclear weapons. And my father said no. He said niet to Mikhail Gorbachev that he wasn't going to give up SDI and Star Wars. The reason he became President of the United States, and the only reason he became President of the United States, as he told me back in 1976, he was tired of United States presidents always kowtowing to the Soviet bloc. That every time we would get together, the Soviet bloc would always ask the American president to give up something to get along with them. And he said he wanted to be the first president to sit down with the Secretary General of the Soviet Union. And when he was told what he would have to give up to get along with them, he said, I want to be the first president, Michael, to get up from the table, walk around the other side of it, lean over and whisper in their ear, niet. I want to be the president that says no to the Secretary General of the Soviet Union. He did that in Reykjavik with Mikhail Gorbachev. The president we have today is saying, yes, 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 what can I do for you? Like somehow kowtowing to the Soviet bloc, or former Soviet bloc, and to Russia, somehow appeasing them is going to make them friendly. They will be as friendly to the United States as the Democrats are to the Republicans after we've kowtowed and given them something they want.
What would your father say to Obama's pulling the plug on missile defense?
I think my father would be very disappointed. I doubt if you would actually hear him say anything, because that is the elected president. But I think my father would be very disappointed, and his spokespeople would, in fact, go out and say that he was disappointed because, again, Poland is our friends. Czech, they are our friends. I happened to be in the Czech Republic last year, or a year and a half ago now, when that deal was put together between the Bush administration and Czech and Poland. And they were excited the fact that they were going to have some way to be able to protect themselves. Czech and Poland know why they need missile defense. They're very familiar with First World Wars and Second World Wars and who starts them and where they come from and who can be trusted and who can't be trusted. That's why they want a missile defense themselves, because they've learned not to trust. They don't think about verifying. They just know not to trust. And for us to, in fact, pull away for them to defend themselves away just to appease the Russians does not bode well for the future of freedom around the globe.
And they rightfully feel very betrayed about it. Very betrayed by the U.S.
They feel betrayed. They feel betrayed. It's interesting. The President of the United States talks about, well, we have to be friends. Friends with who? He's trying to be friends with our enemies. He's not being friends with our friends.
Michael Reagan, thanks so much for talking with us again at Newsmax, and congratulations on honoring your father over there. It's long overdue.
Well, thank you very much. People want more information on what we are doing. You can go to ReaganLegacyFoundation.org, ReaganLegacyFoundation.org. That's a work in progress with our website there, but we will certainly have shortly a video and photography and what have you about what we're doing. This is one of the foundations. This is the Legacy Foundation. You'll actually see what I'm doing instead of just hearing from other people what they're not doing.
Terrific, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael Reagan, and thank you for watching Newsmax TV. Sarah Palin's new book, Going Rogue in American Life, will be released on November 17th. You can be among the first to get your copy. Check out our incredible free offer for Sarah's new book. Just go to Newsmax.com and click on the top banner for this great offer. Act today.